This train terminates here.
All change, please. All change. Welcome aboard this British Rails video. Now get out. Everything stops here. Well, not quite. More like everything changes. Like so many British kids of various generations, I was a fan of Doctor Who, and as any self-respecting Doctor Who fan knows, and I believe there must be some sort of strong crossover between Railways and Doctor Who fans, the first Doctor you witness is your Doctor. My Doctor was Peter Davison. At the time, he was the youngest actor to have taken on the role, and he had big boots to fill, replacing Tom Baker, who had become widely considered the Doctor, and by many still is. But back in the day, I didn't know anything about Tom Baker. In fact, I knew nothing of the concept of regeneration at all. Obviously, some cruel joke that my father decided to indulge in for his own entertainment. Peter Davison's Doctor was a warm-hearted and caring soul who tried to ensure fair play and justice, all through what is widely regarded as a series of adventures that stacked up perhaps the most impressive body count in the long-established show. In March 1984, the serial story The Caves of Androzani was broadcast, a story regularly cited as one of the very best in the 60 years history of Doctor Who. The dramatic conclusion saw the Doctor sacrifice himself to provide a remaining vial of antidote to his dying companion, Peri. Ah, Peri. Let me count the... well, more on that later. The regeneration came as a shock to me, not only as an unexpected part of canon, but the new iteration himself, the sixth Doctor, Colin Baker. He was colder, less patient, abrasive and arrogant, and after dispensing with the fifth Doctor's costume of muted cream, he opted for brash, aggressive colours, a garish patchwork clown costume. It was such a jarring change that my schoolboy brain could not handle it. I rejected the new generation of the Doctor and remained in a daydream state of denial. Now, those familiar with the Doctor Who story, both on and off screen, will know that Colin Baker's era was a controversial and unpopular one. I mentioned the change in personality. This included the new Doctor attempting to strangle his companion in the opening minutes of his own first story. But the problems were more profound than just what was happening on screen. Behind the scenes, the new Director General of the BBC was trying to kill off the show. Poor Colin Baker was given a bad deal. It was not until the international success of the show after it returned in the 2000s that he was able to develop the arc of his Doctor with the audio adventures, and is now considered by many as one of the best incarnations. Change is, as Heraclitus patiently tried to explain to us, the only constant. Yet, we resist it. Buddha taught that this attempt to swim against the tide of inevitability is what causes so much pain and suffering in the human experience. This resistance to the inevitable flow of nature, the relentless failure to sustain a degree of static stability over our lives, is one of the ephemeral drives behind philosophical exploration, creative and artistic endeavour, and what makes the poignancy of nostalgia so intoxicating and mournful at the same time. The whole concept was so succinctly summarised in the great 1992 video essay, Wayne's World.
We fear change.
As the fifth Doctor succumbed to the poison, cradled in the lap of his companion Peri, who was, by the way, the major reason I persisted with the sixth Doctor's era, once she was written out of the show in heartbreaking fashion, Peri. Anyway. As he lay there, being upstaged by Peri's assets, he muses that maybe it'll be different this time. And this moment is what sprung to mind recently, while firing up another slarty Bart fasting session on Trains, A New Era. The programme crashed. Nothing unusual. So many trains users around the world. But an error message regarding a corruption in the exe file had me hyperventilating as other memories came flooding back. The great crash of February 2022 emerged from the darkness in which I had hidden it. That was where I had to face up to the reality of losing 6 months route building work.
Hey, Control S, you morons! It's always Control S!
It was not the end, but it led me to a stark realization that it was time to tackle the unending inevitability of reality. It was the moment to embrace that which I feared most.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
I had purchased and downloaded Trains 19 in 2019. Obviously, I fired it up and had a play with the Dundee-Edinburgh route. I found the colour palette a little overexposed for my liking, and on the computer I had then, it really struggled to not stutter and lag terribly. Then I did some momentary research into the process of transferring my asset library, and, like many users,
most men run away screaming.
I stayed in the comfort zone of the stability and reassurance of Tain, safe, if not heartbroken, back there in that TARDIS console room, watching my heroic doctor save the delightful Perry. Ah, Perry. And all that was to come to pass could be ignored and denied. Until now. In order to afford a solid enough graphics card and processor setup when I had to replace my previous dying computer, I opted for a less impressive hard drive capacity to get the specs I wanted on my graphics game. I put Trains on a USB external desktop hard drive.
Man's insane.
This was only ever going to be a stopgap measure. I know. I would eventually run the risk of a disaster, and this error warning on the exe file was the signal to face up to that reality. Things were going to have to change, and not a moment too soon. I had also decided the change was past due after seeing some of the stunning graphics modern iterations and rival train simulators had on offer, and suddenly Tain looked tired and out of date. Moving my Trains 19 installation to the hard drive, remembering my login passwords and starting the process of repopulating the collection got underway. The moment of truth came to pass as I finally got to see what my West Coast mainline route looked like in the newer iteration, and like my adult self revisiting the Colin Baker Doctor, I was greeted with depth, substance, subtlety, nuance, and a world anew. Now, there have been drawbacks, some of which are painful to contemplate as being permanent. Unknown assets that do not seem to have been a problem or a requirement in Tain have caused some frustrations. I have spent several hours hunting an EMU bogey asset to enable the Beta Class 303 I found in the dark recesses of the internet many years ago. I think I got round that last time by substituting another bogey asset, and I'll need to rediscover that solution. Another problem that many UK Trains users will be very familiar with has continued to vex me. The dreaded Pickabird reskin templates for Class 37s. Look, I swear to God, I have tried to follow the forum posts on this for years, and once in a while I think, today is the day when I will fix this and unleash my full 37 fleet. Today, as of yet, is not that day, but if I find my way through the minefield, I will definitely make a video with step-by-step instructions on the process. After all, the posts on the forum keep telling us.
Oh, it's gonna be super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Likewise, the strange white box error that appeared on swallow-liveried 47s is on my list of problems to fix. And some niggles emerge with Trains 19, especially with the Shadow engine. Models like the football pitches, where the lines are actually set slightly above the model, or on some locos and rolling stock, there is a frustrating shadow cast between layers. And shadows being cast inside the cab when passing under bridges or catenary, for example. But otherwise, the migration has given me a chance to streamline my roots collection and, frankly, prune out some of the foreign muck that was taking up so much space in my library and on my hard
I
drive.
would be equally racist tomorrow.
What's that?
Nothing?
Look, sorry, rest of the world. I am never going to run a Chinese route, or try as I might, I just cannot get into American trains. I am frequently impressed by the quality of the models produced by Russian, Chinese and US users, and some of the layouts are extraordinary. But I need to keep Gigabytes free for good old UK content, and perhaps providing a high standard route will inspire more UK quality content. Which reminds me, I must do a wish list video very soon. My graphics card seems to hold up quite well with 19. I have finally been able to enjoy some of the work done by other route builders to full glory, especially the Cornish mainline route by Marky 7890, Dutchy Days by Fudginator, the Central London line by Clownbert, just to start with. But I have always been a blatant fanboy of anything produced by Nexus DJ, who is quite simply the standard I hope to reach with anything I build, and Balshaw, the two Minories layouts and Midshire mainline are a must-have on your route collection, and his work is showcased to great effect in Trains 19. Meanwhile, there are some great little diorama layouts, including Westcott Town by PFX and the Dernby layout by Neville Hill, or Neville_Hill, which I enjoy using to run some transition era assets. Talking of transition era, LMR South Twilight of Steam by Glenn 1974, inspired by London Suburban West Coast Mainline in the 60s, is a joyous experience. I am impressed that Trains 19 basically provides a quality upgrade on assets that already existed in the Tane idiom, and everything just looks that bit more realistic and less, well, how can I put this delicately? Less Minecrafty. I considered using Tane to continue with the building process and running the rails in 19, but in the end, it isn't necessary. The Doctor is dead. Long live the Doctor. Now, I know that I have hardly stepped into the brave new world of the 2020s, and Trains 19 merely takes me up to the technological development in the world prior to COVID. But this represents significant progress for me. After all, remember,
We fear change.
so nothing lasts forever, and we step boldly into a new dawn, a new era, if you will. No, I can't really use that turn of phrase, can I? The enthusiastic innocence of a previous incarnation has been replaced with the more realistic iteration. This too will, of course, be replaced, regenerated, if you will. Well, it already has, but not in my world. Not yet. Because for now, we can find our own oasis of stability, our unchanging pocket of nostalgic satisfaction. For the time being, anyway. Until next time, if you like what you see here, don't just click the like button, tell others, and subscribe. If you don't, keep it stum, eh? Or I'll send round the ticket inspectors. Cheery bye.
I watched you from behind the couch, hoping I would be no slouch. If you came up to me and asked if I was free, you took on Alex and you took my heart. When danger came, a calling your scream would start. But if you night TV, flying in the TARDIS, only you and me. Harry Brown, be mine. Stop wasting all that time, traveling the stars with the misguided fool. I know my life with me would be pretty cool. Harry Brown, Harry Brown, Harry Brown, Harry Brown, Harry Brown, Harry Brown, Harry Brown. Harry Brown, be mine, stop wasting all that time, traveling the stars with the misguided fool. I know my life with me would be pretty cool.
I am the Lord and Master.
Harry Brown.